I'm pretty sure every person running around here has a phone and has some kind of profile.
You are not just making your stuff for a small segment of known people, you are basically making it for the whole world. How could you create one product, one artwork, one level, which can be found fun by all different people coming from everywhere? That's where the challenge comes in.
This is so much more than just watching cartoons or just reading a book.
Games are art.
What unites us is the love for games.
It was very rewarding to work within these boundaries.
Which pushes me as an artist to work harder.
Kind of like an achievement that you feel when you see people playing around at any location. I go to airport when I'm probably sitting next to someone and the flight is taking off and boarding down and people playing my own game, and that's like super exciting experience.
I always wanted to be in games, ever since my dad got me a Commodore C64, but back then I didn't know how to get there.
I never knew that game artist was a thing growing up, but when I was in college, I decided I wanted to become an artist.
I learned myself. I come from India. When I was kind of growing up this passion and the interest of coming into this industry, there were not many opportunities around, and my dad was kind of like a mentor to me. He couldn't be an artist himself, so he wanted me to be an artist, and that's how I kind of grew up.
I studied advertising at university and I was going to be a copywriter in the beginning.
Eventually, a game design program opened up.
I was lucky enough back then to get a scholarship. I didn't learn how to make games, which I wanted to learn so badly, but at least this was like a huge network party.
My professor happened to be an art director at EA, and he was looking at internships. Submitted to him, he accepted it, and really that's how I got my foot in the door.
I started to make my own short film as a fireproof if I could do it, and after that I knew I could start a career in animation, and step by step we learned the tools, we got to work with the right people.
In the past I worked for architecture, visual effects, and TV was not really my thing, so later I decided to make a portfolio for games, and yeah, after a few years I got into it.
So after almost 6 years of animation, I thought, what if I venture into something game-related? Because I believe it is the games where you can see people change their perception with something that you created.
I applied for a bunch of different places and found myself in Supercell. Sort of ironically, because I had been looking at their games as references for other games, and I was like, you know what? I think I should just work for them and have other people look at my work instead. So I've been working on Clash Royale ever since.
I've been always the guy drawing at school. I always had some sketches around me. And then later on, I got a computer. I learned about 3D graphics. And then I thought, hey, now I can do everything. And for many years, I was learning rendering. And then at a certain point, I got bored with render times. And then I say, hey, games have amazing graphics. Now I can see what I do in real time. I make a change and it happens instantly.
I have always been an artist who really want people to see my work. This is my nature. Like I feel like showing around what I create, and which is why like coming to this kind of industry where, especially a company like King, I mean, this is the best opportunity where you can just do something and it can automatically reach thousands and millions of players. The first biggest success we had was Candy Crush, which completely blew off the industry, and it kind of also set the direction of where the mobile games were headed.
When I was about like 5 years old, my dad got me a C64. So I had like the entire development of video games. So I could like witness the entire development of everything basically. And this was like the magic first moment when he started the computer and I saw, and he put the load command in it, and I saw the first game. I was like, oh wow, this is so cool, this is so immersive. So I was infected from this moment on.
This is a kind of a new paradigm, right? The mobile devices, now they're everywhere, we take it for granted, but there was a time, maybe a decade ago, when it was very new and the performance was limited by the hardware available at the time.
Basically, the mobile games world has made the same development like every other games, but in a very compressed time frame. Well, the very first game that was super popular on phones was Snake. And Snake is super important because it shows graphics don't matter. We all don't matter. A cool game design idea that keeps people engaged and lets them play or enjoy the game.
I was playing with Snake on Nokia, and games were like native, and then Java came around. But I think the big revolution was when the iPhone popped out, right? So when Apple launched the App Store, and they said like, you can put your apps on this thing, it exploded. The next year they had like probably 100,000 apps already on the store between games and productivity.
The next game that was kind of like a milestone was Angry Birds, in my opinion, because it showed, oh wow, I can really have physics in a game, I can have a challenging gameplay. And from then on it split it in very different categories.
Back in the day it was really hard to sell mobile games to people as a profession. You can find some good artists, like they always saw mobile games not as like a career goal, but as a stepping stone towards like AAA or console gaming.
And now you're seeing the quality of mobile games just raise to this whole new standard and figure out new ways of doing things. So creatively, it's a very good space to be in.
It's much easier to get people to come to mobile industry now. Now they actually want to come to big mobile gaming companies because they see it as a good career goal and a good career path.
I absolutely agree with everything Johnny said. No, it's absolutely true what he said. Mobile industry has really grown up, both on the game side and also from my perspective on the marketing side as well. And it becomes more and more attractive for all the artists. And also because now we can show so much more detail, so much more level when it comes to art inside of the games and outside when it comes to marketing.
And today instead you can just do everything in the engine. So the same techniques you use on console, you can bring them to mobile. You can make a cutscene, you can move cameras in the flexible way that you would do on console, you will do the same on mobile.
There are games that have like teams of over 500 people just working in mobile games. The same like GTA a couple of years ago.
Mobile games are now small AAA games. We also try to make stories, to build up lore, to make our characters alive. We also now try to build IPs for the long run.
Now you can say, well, I could make a 3D mobile game, I can make a 2D one, I can make a 2.5D one.
The tools are getting easier by the hour, I would think. So if you have a committed couple of friends, I think now it's the best time to hop on and get your ideas down, because it was never as easy as now. And I think I can say that.
What's great about this industry is it is so global. You can go anywhere you want to and find success there because there's studios all around the world, and really get to know other cultures, get to know people and really learn from them and see their experiences, what they know, and growing together really.
King is situated in many locations in Europe. Barcelona is one of the largest studios, I think. Besides this, London and Stockholm is also in good numbers. The reason is that these locations provide a nice shelter for people coming from all over across the globe to be easily immersed and absorbed into a city which is livable for any kind of person coming from any kind of different culture. We have a lot of diversity in our company as well, like people coming from different places, they speak different languages, they had different food habits and whatnot. And this is what makes it like super interesting.
We as Nordeus, we are like based in Belgrade, Serbia. So there are some troubles getting people to like there. It's not anymore an industry-based problem, it's location-based problem. And now I see people have like career aspirations moving into mobile, but there's like high quality senior people are still reluctant to actually relocate somewhere. And we are doing whatever we can to like show the people like what Belgrade actually is. I mean, Carsten is a good example for that because we persuaded him that Belgrade is a good career choice. And as far as I know, he hasn't regretted it yet.
No, I love Belgrade. For me, I'm from Germany. I don't know how much we can talk about it, but every Serbian people I meet outside of the company, they think I'm crazy to move to...
Even inside.
I know. But actually it's not. I think actually it's very interesting to live there. A lot of people compare it to Berlin in the 90s, and I think I agree. It's a city on the verge to something. In Belgrade and around the area of Serbia, there are a lot of digital hidden gems, I would call it.
Yeah,
because a lot of world-class companies working there that nobody knows of, that they're actually working on the highest quality games out there.
When I was coming here to Barcelona, and this was my first stunt of coming outside from India, my family and I was like really scared of going outside because India is like a really different country in such a different way. And I wasn't sure whether it will be easy to absorb myself into a new place and will people accept it. And it totally turned out to be just the opposite. Like it was so welcoming, it almost felt like you are at your own home, your second home, or probably the same home.
During the game creation process, you have like valleys and peaks of concerning the amount of artists you need for a game. At the beginning, you need more concept artists. Later on, you need more illustrators. Then the 3D guys come in, then the animators. But there's like never a consistent number of artists that are always in the team. That's why we decided to open up a new department, and it's called Art Services. And what that means, it's a giant room, like this underground central basic, where we have artists that work on different games. That means that we have very lean, very small teams, but at the same time we have a huge artist army that is flexible and can work on what is basically needed.
Our company still works like in indie studios. The game teams are small. It makes it more easier for people to be approachable. Everyone can give their opinion.
I know for sure that big companies have really small teams of 10, 15 people, and they do everything. From game art, even marketing, UI. Then you can have bigger teams, especially if you have to handle a lot of 3D and so on and so on. Then the team gets bigger. But I think you don't need like the mass amount of team that AAA studios need to do the production.
And for the artists, it's super cool as well, because one week they can work on one game and the next week on a completely different game. So it keeps them really flexible in their minds. And they love it as well.
No, Supercell is definitely a great environment for work creativity. There's no art directors. Everyone's just on the same level. Everyone's an artist. There's no fancy titles. And we don't really even have game designers. Everyone contributes their ideas to the game. And that's the great thing is, in my position now, I could be working on environments one day, VFX. I really get to sort of narrate my own story.
If you're like working on a really hardcore AAA game, it might be that you will be working 6 or 7 years in the same game, you know? Mobile games, development cycles way shorter.
What you can do for AAA studios, you can now easily do for mobile games. You could not think of this stuff like 3 years ago.
And this might sound a bit cheesy, but it's work-life quality. Many years ago, it was seen as a cool thing to totally destroy your social life and to surrender to just do games and to work in a messy nerd dungeon, doing games all your life and don't have any other occupation besides that. No friends, no social life, no girlfriend, boyfriend, nothing, just the game, you know? The more you would like sacrifice yourself for the art or for the games, the cooler you were. This has changed. People are getting older. People are falling in love. People are having kids. People want to have a normal life, so to say. In tendency, mobile game studios tend to care more about their workers or employees because they see, hey, this is like the only resource we got. We cannot destroy our people. We cannot crunch them to death.
Old Man's Journey is about a redemption story, and the reason it works so well on mobile is because you could fill in your daily life with a daily story. You get thrown into a story of an old man, and this old man seems to be jaded and has lost his reasons to be happy. So you wander through a landscape and lift and drag hills to make a pass through the landscape and basically drive this old man until his final destination. And Old Man's Journey is pretty much everybody's story on everybody's phone. A clear, strong, precise narrative, it's valuable either in animation or in games. So I think the fundamentals stay the same, but it is different. It needs to work on different platforms, it needs to not be too long, not too short. There's obviously other rules to comply.
Working with limitation is challenging.
Every decision you make has to lead and help the gameplay.
You had the limitations of 5-6 years ago on console.
Coming from animation where there is no real poly count, there's no constraints, a mobile phone has a lot of them.
Because we have those restrictions, we have to look about style instead. On consoles, you can see it on an infinite projector on a screen. You can see every last detail, but on a phone, a lot of those details are lost. So how do you get the most bang for your buck?
So finding a sweet spot of design quality and doability and not being able to have too many images was something you need to adapt to, for sure.
Really, the hardest part is just moving forward and not getting stuck on perfection. You're never going to get any work done.
The biggest challenge is discovery, in my opinion. There have been really a lot of apps and games getting published every day. Compared to when it started, and the numbers of games and apps which are pushed on App Store these days is like humongous. I don't even know how many of apps are pushed every day.
Thousands and thousands of games. Really difficult to find that style where somebody goes, oh, that's that game.
There are millions of apps out there and games that you have to compete against. So how do I differentiate myself? And then secondly, how do I make money? We want to be successful, we want to be able to monetize. We have a few different ways that we make that easy for developers. And the first one is in-app purchases. So we have modules that a developer can very simply integrate into the game and have a whole in-app purchase system without having to write it from scratch. The other thing is an ad network. And mobile have a few different models. So you can either make money by having advertising in the game or in-app purchases, or you can sponsor the acquisition of other users. That's another way for mobile developers to get paid.
Crossy Road is a game that pioneered Unity ads. So it was one of the first games that introduced video ads. Instead of pushing ads to the player, you ask the player if they want to watch an ad. And Crossy Road introduced that and made millions out of that. It was like one of the games that got it right.
Unity has a ability to put in advertising into the mobile platforms, and we plug them directly into ad networks, and so they don't really have to worry about any of the bidding and the auctions and all the integration. It's very simple for them to do.
Marketing is one way, of course, but still there are a lot of organic conversions based on what you see around. When people start to see games and they get recommendations from their friends or their family, they trust on it more compared to looking at an advertisement, for example.
So there are basically revolution on different sides.
The one thing which is sometimes important and what matters is understanding the audience. This is where it sometimes gets tricky. Opinions can always differ from one person to the other. The world is so diverse.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, because if it's easy, a lot of people are gonna do it. And if a lot of people are gonna do it, you're not getting noticed very easily.
So coming up with a style or a unique game mechanic is the most difficult.
What is very, very important is to know the right people, get the right features, get that sort of exposure that will save your game from not getting drowned.
Our intentions can be very good to make an awesome game and so on and so on. We put it on the market, and the market at the moment where we put it on is not interested in the game. And to testing we can find out what is the reason. Is it a gameplay? Is it the look? Is it the feel?
One thing that happens is that we play a game, and depending on our ability, we might become frustrated or find the game too easy. And if it's not engaging or it's frustrating, then you lose interest. So with Unity Analytics and remote settings, you can actually pay attention to what the player is doing, learn where they are being successful or unsuccessful in the game, and then from your base, make adjustments inside the game and customize it to their experience.
It's really not that uncommon to have a game that goes into soft launch. You get a lot of feedback from people who are players, and you completely change the game.
That's the great thing about mobile games is you can constantly update them.
We have older games that are running for like 6-7 years. Of course, you cannot change everything because we have a huge player base of millions of players, which are very picky. Even if you change one pixel, they go crazy, you know? So of course, if you work on those games, you cannot change the wheel or reinvent the wheel again.
Now, like, we can select a part of a server, test a feature on 50,000 people, 101 million people, however we want, get immediate feedback, and like within a day we know what is the best choice to do.
And that's the thing that I love working on it is the game is constantly evolving.
The possibilities are endless. Mobiles are approachable and accessible to all the consumers. Shopkeepers, their moms, then dads and kids, and everyone plays the games.
And now we have more power and more freedom to basically just be creative and not think like of the technical limitations. And all these revolutions, so graphics, gameplay, monetization, they're all coming together. And they really have transformed the way people play games and people experience games, and they have transformed the market as well. The mobile gaming market is really becoming something unique, if you want.
Evolution is taking its own turns and things are moving from here and there.
It's amazing to think about what's possible. I mean, considering how much we use our mobile devices now compared to a decade ago, essentially changed society for the better or for the worse, hard to say.
We talked about the past, but what about the future? I think in the future, whatever comes up with the next phone that is super strong, and the next guy who finds the perfect game for those devices wins it. Yeah.
The new artificial intelligence and the augmented reality is really making the device much more capable of doing a lot of things.
The gaming market was coming to a little bit of flattening, and now with VR and AR, it opens again, and new possibilities, new way of experiencing games.
You know, the sky's the limit just about to what you can do on your phone.
Virtual reality is still super fascinating, and everybody is like super hyped about it. But at the end, nobody is like, okay, but what do we do with it, you know?
Every new medium will give other opportunities. As the principle will stay the same, we will always jump on what new technology would offer you. If it's gonna be a hologram, then we're gonna jump on that one. If it's the new glasses, then we will use that content. I think it's just what we get to make emotional responses easier.
So far, I haven't seen an idea that like completely convinces me to like get all the VR equipment, because I feel that right now we're still in an experimentation phase to see what we can do with that. Where is this going? Is there maybe a use outside of games in education and teaching or helping people with handicaps maybe? There's a lot of other opportunities we still have to explore.
Future mobile devices is only growing. I think that augmented reality is a really fascinating area to pursue and see what's going to be developed.
AR is bringing games to everyday life, right? And to the physical space that we live in. So that's going to be the next step, the new disruption, and where we're going to see like even new genres coming out. You know, genres that we didn't think possible until yesterday.
You know, you take your phone, go on the couch, and like you can see little dudes running around. I don't know how far away virtual reality is, but I feel like AR is just around the corner.
So there is a danger of thinking it's cool to make a certain type of images, but you should rather think it's cool to be able to communicate in a certain way. Because you should learn how to think, not learn how to draw or design. But that applies to any creative sector. If you're too attached to the tools, then it's a losing game, right?
The motivation and the drive has to come from the person itself, you know. No school or no workshop will give you the job on a silver platter. It has to come from your inner motivation.
If you understand the games and the mobile device in general, at its best is when you can probably create wonders. We'll see like how this will turn out for people.
In my personal opinion, I think that the mobile gaming company is probably the best place to work at the moment because it's growing fast. It has a lot of cool challenges. We're adopting more and more technology from consoles.
Huge growing market, and I think a lot of opportunities for artists even to be creative, to make a good living, and also like create products they want to create. That is also something very interesting. And then living in Belgrade.
Which is awesome.
Which is awesome.
I have fun every day. I'm always laughing, and if you're laughing in your job, you know, what else can you complain about?
You just do whatever fulfills you. And if it's games, go for it.
And in the end, I'm just making monsters and things like that, so life's not so bad, you know.
We hold the knowledge of the world in the palm of our hands. Hold the knowledge of the world in the palm of our hands. We see it all, everybody, Well, we don't understand. We hold the knowledge of the world